So welcome everyone to the WNC Community's Coffee Hour, where we're sharing best practices. And in case you haven't been before, I'm going to give you a quick little intro to how we run this little show. So hopefully you can see my slides here.
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's a overview of our agenda for today. First, a little welcome, and then we'll do what we call sip and chat. And that's just a chance for us to break out in pairs and get to know each other a little bit. Then we'll have a presentation followed by some Q&A. And if there's time, we'll have a discussion about the topic. And finally, we'll check out with how did it go today. So we're going to start with our sip and chat first. So in a minute, I'm going to put you into a breakout room. And when you get in there with your partner, introduce yourselves. And the questions for today are, how are things going in your community with providing access to healthy food? And what about empowering others to be able to afford their own food in the long term? So that's a little sort of expansion of the topic for today, but something to think about. And then finally, what are you hoping to learn today? And then when we come back, we'll have our presentation with Marie Whitener, and I'll introduce her at that time. Okay, so let me go ahead and put you in some breakouts. This is such a small group, actually. Why don't we just all stay in the same room? Does that work for you guys?
Yes.
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, great. All right, well, so Marie, since you're going to be presenting today, why don't we hear from Alice and Nancy the answers to those questions? So Alice, do you want to start and tell us a little bit about?
I'll be right back.
Okay, Alice, do you want to tell us a little bit about how things are going with meeting your community's needs for food?
Yeah, so we have the food pantry that works with MANNA behind the community center, and twice a month they provide food, and it's a drive-through food situation. It used to be kind of a grocery store like type thing that you could go in and pick your own food, but now we've switched to drive-through due to COVID. And things go well, but you know, it's funny because we've actually seen utilization of our food pantry go down since COVID. And we started thinking, you know, why did that happen? And we've kind of analyzed the food pantries that have opened up since COVID in Madison County, and they're providing more food in more locations so people don't have to drive to Spring Creek to pick up their food. You know, they were coming from Hot Springs, or they might be coming from, you know, other areas. And now they don't have to because there are more food pantries out there. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we want to provide people with as close a local source for food as possible. But we do get challenged with finding people in the community. You know, the WNC community people are very proud, and there are a lot of people that qualify for food pantry subsidies, and they won't participate because they're too proud. And we've struggled with that and how to overcome that in the community. We're still struggling with it.
Yeah, that's a common thing I've heard is, you know, mountain people, they're proud, and they don't necessarily want to come and ask for anything from anybody else. I'm so glad you brought that up. That is a huge challenge. Nancy, how about you? You want to tell us a little bit about how things are going with helping your community with their food needs?
So far, we have, like at UNECA, we have like a small food pantry at the church, and then at Great Creek, we have, they can get a voucher if somebody needs food or needs something. They can get a voucher from the church and to go and purchase. And we've had I think the food distribution really helped because we had some people there that was probably would not have qualified, but we had it available. And so other people saw them going and getting it. So I think it broke that barrier of astigmatism, we're poor, we don't, whatever. So they said it was just like the whole community participated in this. And as I said, I think that, so we have the food bank in Hiawassee Dam, and then we have some food banks in Murphy that if they come, if there's a family in the community that is really in need, our churches just step up and help some. So with all of it working together, if we know, we just tell people, if you know anybody that needs food really bad, just let us know and we'll make a way to, to find the sources for it.
Wonderful. It sounds like you all pull together really well to fill any gaps.
We do, right.
Well, how about the other question that we had for today, which was about what success or avenues have you guys pursued to try to help people economically so that they can start to afford their own food? Have you guys done any work in that realm? Alice, you want to start with that question?
I mean, we probably haven't done anything. A lot of our people are retired and on limited income, so they can't necessarily or aren't necessarily going to go and get additional employment. The most we've done, which really doesn't empower them to get off of food subsidies, is we were cooking regularly for our patrons so they could see things being cooked that were in their boxes. Some people didn't know what a spaghetti squash was, and
right.
we did recipes with spaghetti squash, and people could come and taste it. We've not done that since COVID. We're just trying to limit the face-to-face, up-close activities as much as possible.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah, and you bring a really good point. I'm curious to hear, do you have an estimate of kind of what percent of the people who are coming for food support, like what ages they're in? Like, are 80% of them over 65, or do you have a sense of that?
I would guess that's probably accurate. We did pick up, somewhere well over 75%. We did pick up a few extra people during COVID who, were hairdressers or something and couldn't afford, and they had to close down their business. And so we did pick up, rarely lost their jobs of sorts, and now they're starting to go back to those jobs and are no longer need the subsidy. So we were there sort of as an interim to help them during that year or so time frame.
Wow, how great that you could be there as that stopgap for them.
Yes, yep. And we've been considering putting in a non-perishable big container so that people who want to come after hours could go and get cans of soup or things that wouldn't be perishable. Or if you get things in your box that you don't want, you could put them over there, and then others could come, and then you could do that on your own without having to be in what they think is the spotlight when they pull up to get food.
What a great idea. That's such a good solution for the folks that don't feel like, they feel it's a matter of pride,
Yeah.
That way they could be anonymous and come get what they need. That's awesome.
And we stole the idea from a church over in Waynesville.
Hey, we're all about stealing and sharing. So stealing ideas, that is.
And we haven't actually done it yet. We were kind of waiting for winter to get over because we were worried about things freezing also if they were outside. But we did a fundraiser in December to raise money to buy a few new things for the pantry, and we needed a freezer. Well, actually we needed 2 freezers, and then to get enough money to be able to to buy the big cabinet or whatever we decide to get.
Wonderful. So it's definitely in progress already then.
Yeah, I mean, there's the plan. We just have to figure out when we do it and how we're going to do it as well. Where will we put the container?
Great. Well, we'd love to hear an update on that when it gets rolling, how it's working out.
Okay.
Nancy, anything you want to share about the population that's typically coming to get food support? What kind of age group
We have,
it is?
okay, for the seniors at UNACA, we have the senior center, and they come Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And from town, from the senior center in Murphy, they bring out the meals. And so we have the seniors that come and pick up their meals, and most of them, they just donate $1 for the meal. And it is totally balanced with the milk, with the whole thing. So we're encouraging more seniors to try to participate in that. And during the winter, it's hard for them to get out. But we still have those that are regulars that come every week, 3 days a week, and pick up their food. And then a lot of them will take it to someone, pick up for someone else. So far, that's been a really good thing. Now, that's UNACA. At Great Creek, our community center is not finished yet. We used the one that the church has. It was a community center, and the church bought it, and so we're going to use it after they finish. So Great Creek, we're like sort of on a standstill right now until we get the building finished.
Aha. You need to have the brick and mortar place to actually distribute the food.
Right.
Fair enough.
And you're
Great.
right, it's great.
Well, that
And you're
gives
right,
me a nice window into all of this. I'm sorry, what, Alice?
Nope, I was going to say it is a great thing to be able to provide the cook for people as well. Next to our food pantry is the nutrition center where they bring in the meals, and yeah, it's mostly a to-go type thing now. It's not really related to the food pantry. I mean, they're two separate organizations, but they're in the same or close by space. So one provides the food you can take home that's not cooked, and then the other provides a hot meal that's cooked in a central location in Madison County.
Well, great. It sounds like everybody's got a little different version of how you're serving your communities, which is excellent. So for anyone listening to this recording later, they'll get a whole array of ideas to choose from when they're looking at their own community, what they might want to do. So thanks for sharing that, you guys. All right, so I think we'll go ahead and shift over to hear Marie's presentation. So Marie is at Leicester Community Center, and she's lived in Leicester for 79 years. In fact, only a couple of miles from the community center, and she's their current president. And I'll let her tell you a little bit about how she got started volunteering there. And then she's going to start her presentation. So Marie, you want to give us just a tiny bit of intro background about you and your involvement in the community center?
Well, actually, I became involved many years ago, right out of high school, and we had Little League Baseball, and they had 8 teams, and one of the mothers called me and said, Marie, we have enough kids left over. Will you coach a team? And I said yes. So I coached one of the Little League ball teams that year. We won the championship, had 8 male coaches, and one of them coaches' wives was standing at the back and told her, Marie, you should be home in the kitchen and having babies.
What?
And when the welcome table started, every week when she came in to get her meal, I would laugh and say, well, I did learn how to cook.
What a great story.
But then I worked, and I did not get involved again in 2012, and I'll tell you that in a minute.
All right.
In 1950, in the mid-50s, there was a young man named Dr. John Kerr who moved to Leicester. And he instantly had a vision of having a youth center. The land that we own now became available, and with a loan from 5 different business partners, or businessmen, farming and owning their own business, they each loaned $500 apiece, and they bought the land. Then their goal was to have a building. They applied to the Grange Insurance Company and won a grant of $10,000, which they used to build the building that we are still in. Other things needed to be funded, so they had many steak and barbecue fundraising meals. They used the concession sales money to do the things to provide other outside activities.
Hey, Marie, it's
ball
getting a
field.
little tough to hear you. Can you speak a tiny bit louder, please?
I can.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
They had other outdoor activity spaces that they needed to fill with, like ball field, walking track, and a basketball court, which they did. Then over the years, different organizations have done different food handouts and served food at the community center. Once a month, food handout with the help of MANNA has been going on for years and years and years, not to the extent that it was back before the pandemic. That put a quietus on everybody and every community. But during that time, we did box meals. We had volunteers who would, our storage space at our community center is so limited, and we couldn't work, not in the community center. We were able to store food from week to week till we had enough food to pack out 100 boxes every month. And we would have somewhere between 15 and 20 items in each box. And that was when people would drive up, we would load their car and they would leave.
Wow.
And we were averaging somewhere around 98 to 100 families a month. But then we're able to start renting the community center. We've gone through many phases of this. We were able to rent the community center, so we didn't have no storage space. So we reached out to MANNA, and MANNA now comes once a month. We do not go inside the building. We have a nice porch area that we set up on, and people can come through and load their own boxes with the items they want. Plus, right now, as today, we are handing out meals into the homebound and the people who are not able to get out and do things they need to do. 125 meals, which I would be doing this morning right now if I wasn't talking to you folks. That is food that chefs prepare from different restaurants in Asheville. Food Connection brings them to the community center. Our volunteers come and pick up their route and take them to the people that receive meals every week. And the people that we take food to are the same people that are still alive, naturally, that were there, that got their meals brought to them during the welcome table when it was able to do that. And with that being said, I will talk about the welcome table. In 2010, a lady by the name of Alice Lutz and another member of Bell Methodist Church, Betsy Mears, felt the call to provide our community with a meal. That's someplace that people could come, have a meal, and socialize. They set about learning from other welcome tables what it took to make this happen. And naturally, Betsy and Alice couldn't do it by themselves. So they recruited some other people, one of them being Betty Reeves, who we talked about earlier. And then many others joined it. They visited similar programs. They contacted MANNA, where they received food safety training. They began to raise money for supplies, equipment, and food. Through donations from MANNA's discounted food and volunteers, the welcome table was ready to start serving meals. So the Leicester Community Center was a place where handicapped people could get in and out, and a space that at least 100 people could be seated at a time. So that was good there. And then they started the organizing with strong leaders, people who could manage all the different avenues, which was plenty, and nutritious meals. shopping and picking up food, cooking meals in a safe manner, serving, cleanup. I joined in 2012. They were serving about 100 people then. But before it started, they started out with 60. And when I joined, as I said, there was about 100 meals, and we were cooking on 2 residential ranges with pots that you would have at home. It's hard to cook 100 meals and on 2 residential ranges. So we set about to buy new equipment, which we did. We bought a new 6-burner commercial stove and 2 convection ovens. It cut our preparation time in half. Made a whole lot more people who didn't like to come to the kitchen come to the kitchen, because it wasn't near as much time spent in the kitchen. Before, it was taking anywhere from 3.5 to 4 hours to prepare our meal, and we got it down to 2.5. And we were serving 250 meals a week on the average. There was like 20 people who volunteered when the welcome table started. And when we closed the welcome table in March 2020, there was 18 of those original volunteers still there.
Wow.
Which is phenomenal. But
Yes.
each volunteer, and I think the reason they were so long-term is when they joined or started volunteering, everybody got to choose what they wanted to do. We had people who wanted to cook. We had people that wanted to clean the tables. We had people who wanted to serve the drinks, others who wanted to do the desserts, and others whatever other little thing that needed to be served. And it all worked. And then we had a cleanup detail. We had people that mopped every week, swept and mopped. We had people who helped bring the food back to the kitchen to store or to give away. It was a well-oiled machine, and it was hard work, but everybody had a good time, many good laughs. So we went, when the welcome table closed, then we, as I said earlier, started packing boxes. And then with the help of Food Connection, over the last 2 years, we have handed out over 7,000 meals. But back to the welcome table for just a second. In the 9.5 years the welcome table was in operation, we served over 84,000 meals that were prepared at the community center, which is not a small number. Currently, as I said, the MANNA Express is coming, and people are getting to choose what they want to take home in boxes. And our crowd has become more accustomed to the way we're doing things. Our numbers dropped off considerably, but they're back up now. I think last month we had 68 families, and that served over 348 people. And that's not a bad thing. We do have 3 other pantries in our community: Sandy Mush, Leicester Baptist Church, and I was told this week that Corinth Baptist Church out at Dix Creek just started last month handing out food boxes on Saturday, and again this month they're going to do that. So that's another food handout thing. And then we were lucky enough in 2021 start a weekly farmers market. We averaged 18 vendors each week, every Wednesday from 3:30 to 6:30. We have people who have beef, we have pork, we have mushrooms, we have fresh veggies, the list, fresh goat cheese, we have crabs, list just goes on. And was a drawing thing for our community that is probably the best thing that's happened to our community other than the welcome table in many years. This year, the farmers market will open on April the 13th, and we expect at least that many vendors to be there, and maybe even more. With that, and we have struggled over the years. Again, most people have problems with volunteers. That is no exception to us. People want to come and join an organization, but people today don't really want to give their time and dedication to what it takes to make a community run. We have people come to our meeting, oh yeah, I want to join, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's the last time you see them. And I feel that everybody has that problem. It's and having young people to volunteer, most of them's got families. Today, it takes two people working to make ends meet, and I can certainly understand that. And money is not easy to come by. We've been lucky. So far, we're still above ground. And the welcome table has been very giving to ABCCM and all the things that they do. And one of the things we have done over the years is fund people's bills, fuel bills, and light bills when they could not afford to pay them, when they were getting ready to be shut off, or people dislocated because they couldn't pay their rent. We've been very proud to be able to help in that area. And the lady was talking a while ago about food boxes, food box for people to hand out. She said they stole it from Methodist Church in Waynesville. I don't know who Bell Church stole theirs from, but they have 3 boxes that they keep with dry goods in for people just to drive up, open, and take what they need. So it takes a community to make a community.
Amen.
Wow, what
That's me.
you guys are doing so
Definitely.
much. It's amazing. Marie,
We're
is it
proud of
okay
what
if
we
we
do.
open up for questions now, or was there more you wanted to share first?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
that's great.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Nancy and Alice. What age groups are you seeing that are coming to pick up food? Is it mostly people over 65? Like, what percentage do you think? And how many of them are younger, working age?
I would say there's probably 80% that are in the 70 above crowd. In fact, we have a gentleman that comes regularly who's 92 years old.
Oh, wow.
And we have a lot of people who fall in between that. And was talking earlier, someone about people having too much pride. Well, let me tell you, our folks don't have that much pride. They'll be there. We hand out from 11:30 to 1, and we will have food. People coming to pick up food that will be sitting in the parking lot at 9 o'clock. So they be first, like we're going to run out, and we're not going to run out, you know. And another thing I forgot to mention was the Dollar General store in Leicester has been more than generous to the community center. And we never know when they're going to call us and say, something's going out of date tomorrow, can you use it? We have been picking up food from them, and if it's a food handout, like ours is a third Tuesday in every month, if it's a food handout, then we can use it if we get it the day before. But if we can't, we have been taking that food to our Leicester library, and they have been putting out a table, and as people come in to use the library, they can take what they want, which has been very successful.
What a great idea.
And we never know
It
what we're going
is.
to get, you know. It can be milk, it can be hot dogs, it can be chips, it can be iced tea, it could be a bag of salad, you know, it's just a variety. But rather than them, and they would throw it away if somebody didn't get it. So it's been we get to save the food and somebody else gets to eat it. And that's a good thing.
Yes, definitely.
Well, what questions do you guys have, Alice and Nancy?
So you closed the welcome table because of COVID. Do you have plans to open it back up, or are you going to keep it, individual hot meals packed out?
No, the day that we feel safe in our community that we can open that community welcome table back up, hey, there'll be food on the table. But as I said earlier, I bet we have had 40 people in the Leicester community die with this virus. We have
Yes.
so many people that still don't believe it's real and refuse to wear a mask until
Right.
people,
Amen.
and we can't afford to let these people come in because, and they, like the people I was talking about that comes to pick up the food, they would be at the community center at 10:30. They would take every chair or every bench at the community center on the picnic tables, and they visited for an hour before they came in. When they got inside, the people that came in at 11:30, some days we had to ask them to leave so we could clean up the dining room. And that's why they came. A lot of these people didn't really need the food per se, but it was a place that they could go and socialize. And man can't live for bread alone.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like that's where you have really worked hard to say, this is a meet and greet place. And on top of that, you get to eat a meal if you'd like, but come and bring your friends and play cards or whatever.
No, we don't play cards. Our turnover is too great.
Oh,
Some
okay.
days we have to ask people to leave so that somebody else can have a seat.
Oh,
And that really bothers
wow.
those people. So, when you feel it, when we have everything out, if we didn't have the serving tables out, and then we also had a nurse that checked everybody's blood pressure when they checked, which was great.
Yeah.
But when you have these extra tables out, you can't seat 100 people. You can seat about 75 safely. But then, got another 135, 40 people or more.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to have a seating for people to eat at 11 and then a seating at 12:30 and say, be there or you're not, there's not going to be a seat for you.
I guarantee that would not work in our community because everybody that comes to that know each other, and
Yes.
they've got to catch up on their livelihood from the day they were in school together or a ball game they played together, or
Right.
and it's great. I mean, it's been a joy to do this.
Yes. And so when you were doing the welcome table, how many days a week did you say you did it?
Just one.
That was going to say, because there was a lot of work, 4 or more hours a day until you were able to streamline it down. And so that's a great thing to be able to
Well, our days were at least 6 hours.
Yeah.
We didn't quit serving until 1 o'clock and then clean up, and then we had, I'll just say 2:30 because then we had meals to deliver, and it was our volunteers who were delivering the meals.
And how did you decide what food you were going to cook? Is it what was most popular, or is it what MANNA or the Food Connection or whoever was providing?
Well, we were able to. MANNA does great, but when you order a box of meat, you never know what you're going to get.
And that's why I was asking, because we get stuff and it's like, God, we just got a freezer full of lamb, and people might not like lamb. So you never know.
It's very expensive, and well, you would be surprised what people will eat. I'll never forget the first day I said to them, we were talking about meals, and the cooks usually decide what the next meal was going to be, depending on what we had. And I said to them, we had lots of ground beef. I said, let's do a taco salad next week. And they said, a taco salad? And I said, yes. Everybody will love it. I don't think that's going to go over. And I said, let's give it a try. There's not anything wrong with it.
That's right.
We did it.
Yes, it's a salad with the meat in it.
We did it, and it became one of our favorite meals.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And it was one of the easier meals to prepare. You know?
Yeah, because it's chopping up raw vegetables, and you got to do the hamburger, or whether
Right.
chicken or whatever you put in it. But that has a lot of health components too, and easy to serve because it's kind of in one. You dish it up, and one big meal versus individual pieces.
Oh yeah, and then we had we had the shredded cheese and the peppers and the
Sour cream.
sour cream and all the sauces to go with it, and people just loved it. I mean, it was made
Yes.
fresh, and then we started on chips, and for the meals that we sent home, we bagged the chips separately so they wouldn't be wet when the people got their salad at home,
Oh,
and that
yeah,
really
yeah.
made a difference too.
Yes. And so your meals now are really sort of similar. They're just boxed up, and you've got your delivery people or your pickup people that are taking multiple.
Well, we never know what we're getting.
Okay.
Last week we had chicken orders. It was the thigh and the leg.
Yeah.
Was a vegetable and a rice and bread, and so we just never know what we're getting. But most everybody says these are great meals.
Well,
That's
and
good.
that's why I'm kind of quizzing you on it, because sometimes I look at what the nutrition center serves, and that's the group on our campus who the meals come from the county and they distribute them out to the community centers, and they're cooked at a central location, and so then they're brought to the nutrition center. And the meals to me don't look quite as nutritious as they could be. A lot of white bread and things that,
No, we get a lot of meals that don't even have bread in them.
Yeah.
But we have a restaurant in Black Mountain right now that's making our meals. Previous to this, Blue Ridge Assembly that holds conventions and Moncrief College, they have also hold conventions, and it was their kitchens that were preparing our meals, which were absolutely unreal. But we've been having chef's meals most of the time since Welcome Table closed, and I think now about 4 different occasions we have partnered with Loving Foods in Asheville and cooking meals, and cooked enough for us and for them. They do about 75 meals a week, and so we would get enough volunteers to come to the kitchen and prepare those meals, and then Loving Foods would take theirs and hand theirs out, and our volunteers would come and get theirs and hand ours out. And in fact, we did a New Year's Day meal the week before. Got what day New Year's was on this year? Saturday, maybe, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was Saturday, I think. Yep.
On Wednesday of that week, we cooked greens and oven roasted potatoes, black-eyed peas, and ham, and cornbread, and that's the meal we served that week.
Yes. Yep.
Y'all are making me hungry.
But it's along with all the hard work, it really it's been joyful.
Well, yes. There are reasons why we volunteer our time, and it makes us feel good as well as being able to serve our community. Well, it sounds like
nothing like our community.
Yes, you've done a great job with your community center. Do you do much with Sandy Mush? Because they have their community center is not too far away.
No, we don't. They're pretty independent.
Okay, yep, and it makes sense. It's hard to group up and do things along those lines.
And they have lots of volunteers too, so they do all right.
Yes.
But actually, one of the guys that volunteered with us, he was volunteering with us when he worked he's the gentleman who got the welcome table started. It was not the welcome table, the food handout pantry started at Sandy Mush. He worked
Yes,
long and
yep.
hard for that. So, in fact, he even visited Spring Creek, I know, and several others along the way to learn what he needed to do. But MANNA is a great resource. The restaurants in Nashville that have stepped up, and like I said, we've given out over 7,000 meals that would gone. A lot of it with food. A lot of that food that Food Connection gets would have gone to waste had they not been so progressive in getting this boxed and handed out to the community.
Well, yes, and these are restaurants that then in turn are able to keep people staffed, and it has a huge trickle out effect to every group.
Well, I understand right now the restaurants that are doing ours is doing it as a give back to the community. For a while, they were buying meals through grants, and
Yes. Yep.
which is, but either way, it's been a blessing to our community and our shut-ins to be able to carry them a full meal at least once a week, and that's what we do. And again,
That's
it's all
wonderful.
been about food. It was food money that helped start the community center, food the welcome table, and food the farmers market.
Yes.
Hey, Marie, I wanted to
Yeah.
back up to something you said earlier, just so I get a sense of like the volume of people you're serving. I thought I heard the number 348 people. Was that in one day?
Well, that was what we do because MANNA, if you get food from MANNA, you need, and you're handing out pantry food or even the welcome table, they ask how many people you serve.
Okay.
So you ask for the number of people in your family. If you come, that's the only thing we ask. Not your name, your address, where you live, how much money you make, how many people are in your family.
Mm.
And then we count the families and then multiply it by whatever they say in their, if you got 5 families with 5, then you got 25 people. But that,
So So you don't
what?
keep up with individual names and families. It's just a total. There were 100 boxes given out, and they're going to feed 374 people.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So it was 348 families that you served.
Well, no, we served.
Yeah.
We served 68 families, 348 or whatever I said people.
Okay,
Yeah.
representing who all
They
was
had-
in their house.
They had that many family members. We had
Yes.
68 households.
And that
But that
slide you
number-
had was sort of a parking lot with all of the cars. Is that the line of people coming to get their boxes?
Yeah.
That's a crowd you got.
Actually, we have, if you know anything about the community center, we stop people down at the first parking lot so that people could get in and out.
Okay.
And we actually ended up having to move their stopping point because it would be 2 vehicles wide all the way and people out in the road waiting to get their boxes.
Wow. Then you got to have volunteers handling traffic as well, huh?
Oh yeah, you had to.
Shoo, that's a lot.
Well, we'd hand out the boxes that normally were handed out in less than 45 minutes.
Oh, okay. So it's quick.
Yeah, they'd pull up, somebody would load the trunk or stay at the back of the truck, they'd pull on out.
Cruise on out.
And-
Okay.
Yeah, we're open for an hour and a half twice a month, each, on Friday, but everybody comes in the first half an hour, and then there's sort of a trickle of one here, one here, one here, but 90% of the people have picked up their food within half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's the way ours are. And actually, with this winter weather, we're going to shorten our hours starting this month for just an hour, because it's to sit around for another hour and wait on 3 people or 3 families. That's not what we need to do.
Yep, I agree. you know, we pretty much keep set hours, just so people don't show up and say, well, I came and I didn't know. And but we reduce our volunteer staff after the first 45 minutes or so. We say, okay, y'all can go home, and we'll just keep the minimum staff open for the last 45 minutes.
Hmm.
Well, our volunteers are sort of like the welcome table people who come to eat. Once they get together, they have a hard time leaving each other. Because we have such a good time. So we usually have as many at 1 o'clock as we do at 11.
Yes.
Well, that's great.
Really true.
They're excited to see each other and socialize. That's
And,
the way you keep
and we make a
volunteers. They're
game out
having
of it.
fun, right?
Absolutely. You know,
And you don't ever have any plans of putting in deep freezers and stuff like that where you can store food? Because I know you said your storage space is little or none.
well, we back in I guess it's 2014, we did acquire 2 new freezers from MANNA
Yep.
and an upright commercial refrigerator. That was when we got our new stoves,
Mhm.
Yes.
but and new pots and pans that would match that big stove. Because when you start cooking for 200 plus people and you've got a 3-gallon container,
Oh, yeah.
it's hard boiling us spaghetti and
Yeah.
keep it going to feed that many people, you know?
That was
Yeah.
amazing how you shared, you went from like, what was it, 4.5 hours down to 2.5 hours just by getting a new stove and new pots, just bigger pots.
Well, and we cooked 25 pounds of pinto beans. It took that many to serve our people. You know, that's a lot of beans, and you got to have a big pot. You got to have lots of big pots.
Yes, you do.
Hey,
So you still do try to minimize how much you're keeping frozen, unless you're doing a meal and you don't have MANNA gives you something, you don't have enough to be able to serve everybody. So then you can hold something for.
Well, if we happen to get meat, and we bought chicken through that Radford Farm thing.
Yep.
And so it was not frozen, so we repacked it, froze it, and we used that in lots of our boxes as a meat,
Yes.
which has been worked well. And I forgot to mention in 2020, WNCC communities with the USDA, we got boxes that we handed out. They weren't always on the day that we did our monthly food handout. It didn't matter. We got them, and we handed them out the day we got them because we didn't have
Yes.
refrigeration for them.
Yeah, those boxes were great because they were the farm to family boxes or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Because they had 2 meats and 2 vegetables and 2 fruits and a dairy or 2, and they were really
they
very
were
nice
fabulous boxes.
I know we got them on a limited manner, but we were also didn't want to lose our relationship with MANNA, so we kept ordering through MANNA and would supplement some with those USDA boxes.
But like I said, sometimes we didn't get them on our day, and we didn't have refrigeration, so we just took them. We loaded them that day. We came
That's
to the
right.
community center, offloaded to different volunteers, and just took them on.
Yep.
Which was great.
Yes,
It didn't go to waste.
No, and that was really nice quality food and a nice distribution of items in the boxes.
yeah, that was a beautiful operation.
Yeah.
It was, and it worked well.
That's where I first met you, Marie. I was
Yes,
so
it was.
impressed with that whole thing. It was really great.
And the
Well,
farmers market.
it reduced the labor that we needed, the volunteers too, because the boxes were already packed. We didn't have to take,
Right.
Huge boxes of meats and cans and all that and pack them into boxes. These were already packed.
Well,
So
it
we
was
have-
a very
we just have-
welcome.
Sorry, go ahead.
It was a very welcome, good box for our community.
Yes. Yep.
Well, that's great to hear, you guys. We were thrilled to be able to be a part of that. So we only have a couple minutes left, and Marie, I'm just so curious just to hear more about your farmers market. That's pretty new, right? Can you tell
It's
us
brand new.
something that's
Actually,
working well with that?
Actually, there was 4 women sitting on the porch one day last May and discussing the food issues in the county or in the community, and they came up with this farmers market. Like I said, it was in May, and in August we had our first market, which went well. It again has been a community draw that we did not have before, but people can come, they can get their meat. They can get their vegetables, and we have people, we have men and women that are growing some beautiful stuff. I mean, just great. And it's a good time. Lots of people stop by on their way home from work and pick up meat or fresh vegetables or whatever to have for dinner. And it's just been great. I mean, and again, we're looking forward to even a better year this year. And last year, the 5 months it operated, it was just unreal.
Could you tell us when that is?
It starts this year on April the 13th, and we'll
So
continue
it's every Wednesday?
every Wednesday, and we'll continue to the middle of November.
And what time is it?
Not
Brett?
sure what date. 3:30 till 6:30.
Yeah, we went to it. We went and visited it one of your first weeks that you were open, and it was really great.
And we're very proud of it. And once a month, the library comes and sets up a table and hands out information, which is great. And we have people who do massages. We just have a variety of stuff.
Roughly how many farmer vendors have you got?
I would say at least probably 15.
Wow,
12
that's
to 15.
great.
Yeah. We have a guy who has honey. It's a good variety.
I want to come check
We have
that
people
out.
who have plants. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Wonderful. Well, Marie,
Well, the
I'm so
time-
grateful to you for all this great information you've been sharing with us. You guys have just done a fantastic job serving your community on multiple fronts. It's just so impressive. So we
It's
need to
been my-
wrap up. Thank you again. And could we just take the last couple of minutes and maybe each of us just check out, share one thing that we took from today that we feel good about? I'll start. I'm excited for the Leicester Farmers Market. I want to go check that out. And I'm just grateful to Marie for the time and the energy it took to prepare such a great presentation. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you. And I would like to go ahead.
Go ahead, Marie.
I would like to say it's great to see so many communities still trying to bring their community together for the best of the community.
Yes,
You know, our community is who we are.
that's exactly right. I'm very impressed with your welcome table, and I'd like to think that Spring Creek could, once you get that back up and running again, that we can come and see it in action and model something after it one day.
Be our desire to have your presence.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for coming. Our next coffee hour is, I believe it's March 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm still waiting to hear confirmation from the speaker, so I don't want to announce what it is, but check your email. I'll be sending that out soon. But thank you both for being here. And Nancy had to leave. She had something else, another commitment. So thank you to Nancy too, even though she's not here now. And
Yes,
we look forward to seeing you guys again.
thank you.
Take
Thank you.
care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.